får jeg bare slippe inn de som kommer litt senere. Skal vi se. Ja, velkommen til vårt webinar om eksport og internasjonal handel. Jeg bare minner litt på at webinaret blir tatt opp og transkribert slik at vi får sendt ut en oppsummering. Jeg heter Annette, og jeg jobber i Buskerud næringshage, og vi en del av det norske virkemiddelapparatet, og vårt mål å bidra til vekst og utvikling for bedrifter i regionen. Vi har 3 hovedfokusområder som regjeringen har bedt oss om å prioritere. Det bærekraft, digitalisering og eksport. Og i dag det eksport vi skal rette søkelyset mot. Eksport kan åpne døren til et helt nytt marked og gi bedriften muligheten til å vokse langt utenfor Norges grenser. Men det kan også være en krevende prosess. Derfor vi så glade for å ha med oss eksperter fra Innovasjon Norge i dag. De skal gi oss innsikt i hvilke muligheter som finnes, dele inspirerende eksempler og gi konkrete råd om hvordan din bedrift kan lykkes internasjonalt. I løpet av webinaret vil du høre fra Bernhard og Kristoff, 2 erfarne eksportrådgivere fra Innovasjon Norge, og de vil blant annet snakke om hvordan Innovasjon Norge, Norges utenlandskontorer, kan bistå din bedrift, dele erfaringer og suksesshistorier fra andre bedrifter som har lykkes med eksport, gi tips og råd som kan være relevante for bedrifter i alle sektorer. Mot slutten av webinaret vil jeg også kort fortelle litt om hvordan vi i Buskerud næringshage kan hjelpe deg videre. Og så håper jeg at webinaret her kan inspirere deg til å utforske eksportmulighetene og gi deg nyttige verktøy for å komme i gang. Vi ønsker at masse spørsmål og diskusjon, så hvis dere har spørsmål så kan dere spørre underveis. Og hvis det blir veldig mange så kan vi også ta en oppsummering på slutten. Så da gir jeg ordet videre til første innleder. Det blir Bernhard og Kristoff.
Tusen takk, Annette.
Ja.
Så ja, jeg heter Kristoff. Jeg en forretningsutvikler og eksportrådgiver i Innovasjon Norge i Paris. Jeg jobber i Innovasjon Norge siden januar, så jeg ganske ny. Men jeg har en kollega, Bernhard, med meg, som kan støtte meg eller gi litt mer informasjon. Bernhard?
God dag, jeg heter Bernhard Lamotte. Jeg utdannet i internasjonal handel, det mitt fag. Jeg har bodd 20 år i Norge, hvor jeg jobbet blant annet som eksportrådgiver på fransk ambassade i Oslo, så jeg hjelper franske selskaper å eksportere til Norge. Og nå gjør jeg motsatt, bosatt i Paris, og hjelper norske selskaper å eksportere til Frankrike.
Takk, Bernhard. Så vi kan begynne dette med et spørsmål. Når man vil eksportere, det betyr at man må snakke et språk som ikke et morsmål. Så vi kan ta det på engelsk, og det lettere for meg. Jeg kan gi deg mer informasjon, eller vi kan ta det på norsk. Det kommer an på hva dere foretrekker, men det kan være en eller en annet som dere vil, men det et problem om vi snakker på engelsk? Det helt fint om det et problem, men jeg vil bare spørre først om vi kan fortsette på engelsk, eller ikke.
Tommel opp, ja.
Bare tommel opp?
Ja, det ser greit ut der. Ja.
Takk. So this way I can give you a bit more information as the Norwegian is still a language that I am learning.
And I would just make a very short comment.
Okay.
It's very impressive from Kristoff, who speaks a little bit of Norwegian, well, quite a lot of Norwegian actually, without having lived in Norway.
Yes, I've never lived in Norway. So maybe next year, if we have this presentation again, I will do it in Norwegian. But Yes, please feel free to interrupt and ask any questions, specifically if I go a little too fast or jump on some details. But what I can start by saying here is that we work at the Paris office, but and the examples that we will give you in terms of how we can help you to export is very much linked to our experience here in Paris. But I think it's fair to say that what you can expect is the same kind of level of service, regardless of which Innovation Norway office you may talk with. They all have their own stories and way of working, but I think what I will show is quite common to all of us. Just maybe a quick overview of who we are in Paris so that you can have an idea of how we are organized. The Paris office is made up of these beautiful people that you see here. Sigrun Dero is our head of office, and the other people, Bernard, myself, and everyone else except Delphine and Léa, who you see on the right side, are specialized in helping Norwegian companies to export to France. We all have somewhat of a specialization. I myself, I'm mostly specialized in green maritime, but I have a background in other fields, so I can also help in other fields. Bernard is the one with the most experience, and he has a big background in smart cities, the health industry, agri-tech, food tech, sustainable anything. Buildings is one of them. But we have other colleagues working in other fields, and we try to all mutualize our network. So if Bernard works for a Norwegian company that I can help with, then I will also try to help out and to bring my own network and my own understanding of the sector for our Norwegian clients. So we all work as a group. And we also have Delphine and Léa who work for Visit Norway, and they are working to promote Norway as a travel destination. We are not alone. We are part of a network that we call Team Norway. The composition of this network is really made on a case-by-case basis. It's largely dependent on when it's relevant to have these partners aboard with us. But we have two core partners that are the French, the Norwegian embassy in France, and the French-Norwegian Chamber of Commerce. These two partners are I would say always here with us when we need them to either help us promote or have some form of official presence in different events that we can have, and they can also serve as door openers for you when you work with us. But we also have very, very strong ties with the Norwegian energy partners and Eksfin and the Norwegian Seafood Council. So this is for just a brief overview of who we are and the network that you benefit from if you talk and get to work with us in France. So you probably know Innovation Norway in Norway as a structure that help Norwegian companies grow, in particular through grants and subsidies. But Innovation Norway has offices abroad in many different countries. And these offices abroad have one particular mission, which is to help Norwegian companies grow internationally. And we do this in many different ways. And it's going to be pretty much impossible for me to go into the detail of all the different ways that we can help Norwegian companies export, but you have some of them here on your screen. And what makes us different from, I think, any other company is that we have a unique mandate to provide access to expertise, capital, and network for Norwegian companies in France, but also for all the different countries that we are present in. And through our physical presence in France, we work proactively to help our customers, to help you take full advantage of the business opportunities that we can find for you here, and win some market shares. And again, we do this in many different ways. Some of them are written here on this presentation. And what you see here is a non-exhaustive list, but a very, I think, representative list of services that we usually provide and that you will mostly find in other offices in the rest of the world. So it can range from providing preliminary market analysis and market insights to kind of help Norwegian companies to decide whether or not France at first glance is or not a market for them, helping in cultural understanding. France is a little bit different than Norway. We have some similarities, but there are some cultural differences that are somewhat important to take into account when you want to make business here. The language barrier is something quite important. Many French people don't necessarily speak English, and some Norwegian companies don't have a good English either. So we can also have a important role in playing as an intermediary and in making sure that the Norwegian and the French people can understand each other. We help establish an export strategy. We open doors. We provide visibility. Connecting you with relevant stakeholders, potential clients or partners. So yeah, I've been at Innovation Norway for almost a year, and what we do is always different because every market is different, and every company we work with have different needs. And I'm going to give you 3 examples from here, but do not take those examples as a take it or leave it kind of approach. It's always tailor-made, and it's always we always take into account the needs of the Norwegian company. So those are really examples that can give you an idea, but of course it can always be a little bit different or very different depending on what you need. But our goal is always to reduce the risk and set you to a path towards a successful market establishment and strategic positioning here in France. Any questions so far? Yeah. Oh. Okay, so I will give you 3 examples. The first type of service that is quite popular, I would say, here in France, a service that we provide often is something that we call the global growth. A global growth is a project which can last between 6 months to 12 months, by which we provide a knowledge transfer and market understanding to Norwegian companies. So this type of project is mostly suited for first-time exporters or companies who are not yet on the market in the international market, and who need to have some form of understanding of whether or not there is a business for them in a relevant country. And what you're seeing here is an example that Bernard is having here at the moment in the agri-food technology. We are working with 7 Norwegian companies and 2 clusters, and the entire project will last a bit less than a year. And the purpose is to allow the participants to have a better understanding of the industry's needs in France and in Italy. So this is an interesting project. Yep.
Yeah, I just want to correct one thing. This global growth is for 2 sectors. It's for agri-tech and agri-food that we called agri-food tech.
Yes, thanks, Bernard. So yes, and we don't always mix both the sectors and the geographic markets. We do it if it makes sense, and if our Norwegian clients ask for it, and if it makes sense. But in this particular case, it does make sense to kind of merge the two, both in terms of sector, but also in terms of geography, because they're quite those two markets are quite similar. So we try to provide as much value as we can when we work. Then if that makes sense, then we do it. And so this is I think an interesting project. And I myself work in the maritime industry, and France has its own maritime industry, which can be, which is going to be quite different to the Italian maritime industry. But for example, we do share a common sea, which is the Mediterranean Sea. And so sometimes it can be interesting to kind of join forces with the offices in Italy to explore the opportunities in the maritime sector within the maritime sea, for example. So again, we don't always do this, but when it makes sense, it's something that we try to do, because this is what provides the most value for our clients. And you can see here a little bit about the program that is planned for this delegation. There's a kickoff in Norway, and then a market visit in Rome and Spain, where people get to meet with public authorities and regulatory bodies to kind of understand what is the sector like from this point of view. And then there are 2 market visits, one in Italy and one in Spain. One in Italy and one in France, where the Norwegian companies really get to meet with the industrial ecosystem. And they will get to visit the exhibitions in those relevant countries as well, to meet with the businesses, the local businesses, and the important private stakeholders that are active in these fields. And the purpose of this is to encourage towards B2B meetings, and to try and discuss and to try to understand what the sector is like, and to see if to try to understand if there are some market opportunities for those Norwegian companies in France and in Italy. So these particular projects, I think the global growth, are really are a good way to start things, because if one company alone tries to enter a market alone, then it's going to be very hard for them to reach out to those public authorities, to reach out to those private companies, stakeholders, to try to understand the business, to try to understand what are the reality of the markets that they want to enter in, and try to meet potential clients. Doing all of this alone is quite difficult, sometimes even impossible, depending on some sectors. But if some companies mutualize their means and use Innovation Norway's services and network, where we are already connected with the network in France, then we really act as a door opener. And there is really the potential for all these companies to kind of mutualize their efforts into having this first knowledge, understanding, and market understanding in the relevant countries and sectors. Bernard, do you have anything else to add to this?
Yes, I would like to underline that a global growth is a knowledge transfer. It's really a way to save a lot of time and energy knowing and learning a country. The cost to be part of a project is just a tiny part of the real costs. And I think it's also a very good way to create a community. So that means that all the participants get to know each other much better. Very often we see Norwegian companies that didn't know each other from before, and they can really gain efficiency by knowing each other and build a community. And the last thing will be that very often we can see companies that have in mind, oh, that's the perfect way to talk about my solution and to find clients and go home with a signed contract. I would like to say that it's not the purpose of this project. The purpose is more about to learn, because to sell, what is very important, it's to know your product, your solution very well, and can talk about it. But what is also important is to learn about the needs of the market and the people. You will be more efficient afterwards if first you talk with potential clients, ask them, how do you solve that problem? What is the solution in France right now? How much do you pay for it? What kind of grants and financing can you have when you buy some material or a new solution? When you have all those information, you can really build your sales strategy. You have all information to answer their needs and their questions.
Absolutely, yes, and this is why it's also this is really exactly this, and the opportunity, for example, to talk with the public authorities and the regulatory bodies and to understand if there are some subsidies schemes, for example, this is extremely valuable information because it can help your strategy and your selling strategy and your price adjustment, for example. So this is really the first. Those global growth serve as a market understanding and market analysis that can help you sell afterwards. And it's really the first thing that I assume any company does in their own country, but that they have to do again in every new market that they enter. And so a global growth really serves with that. Another example of something that service that we provide is joining forces and having Norwegian pavilions at fairs and exhibitions. What you see here is the picture that we took just a couple of weeks ago, not even a month ago, in Paris for the International Food Exhibition, the Cial exhibition. And being present at fairs is often also as well a necessity when someone wants to export, because you need to be seen, you need to be present, and it's often a unique arena to find clients. But the biggest fairs, which are often the most relevant, are also often the most expensive. It's very expensive to be there, both in terms of financial contribution, but also in terms of time. It requires a lot of logistics and the commercial efforts to reach out to potential clients. The marketing efforts can be very, very important, sometimes too important for a single company to handle. So having a Norwegian pavilion and going through Innovation Norway and Team Norway and having a Norwegian pavilion can really help, once again, mutualize the costs and allow for Norwegian companies who alone cannot have a booth to be able to have a booth alongside with some friendly competitors or not so friendly competitors, but also some partners as well. And so for Cial, we had the 8 Norwegian companies during those 5 days of exhibitions in Paris. And the work that we provide was once again trying to alleviate all the effort that can be quite hard to do for a single company, which is really coordinating with the show organizers, the builders of the pavilion, both before and during and after the exhibition. How to send and to receive the products. Those are food, and so the processes to send the food to France and to this exhibition and to store them and to have them certified in a way to be able to be exhibited at these kind of fairs can also be quite difficult, and only for administrative reasons, but also for because of the language, and so we can also help do this. And then once we have this background, preliminary administrative and organizational logistic work done, then we also support in targeting the clients and reaching out to here more than 10,000 people who are visiting the exhibition, promoting the Norwegian companies, their products, reaching out to potential customers for the event. And we provide, thanks to the support of the Seafood Council and the embassy and any other stakeholders that we can find. Sometimes it can also be the region, for example. We provide some financial and marketing support that we need for those kind of events, and that again, one single company cannot necessarily afford. But by mutualizing and by using our capabilities at Innovation Norway and Team Norway, then we're capable of having a lot more financial means for those kind of events, and also when often those kind of exhibitions there is a competition, a contest. It can be different kind of contest, and we also try to push the Norwegian companies in those competitions, because it's again a unique arena in terms of communication and marketing and recognizance of the excellence of Norwegian products. And so so 3 out of the 8 Norwegian companies were selected for nomination from the French organizers, and one of the 3 became a winner for the seafood category. And this is I think a really big, stand that we give to Norwegian companies that, again, alone they may not be able to do, but through our help and the Team Norway's efforts, we're capable of pushing and having this form of recognizance from the industry, which is again a very, very good step towards making commercial sales. Bernard, now that this Cial event is over, do you know, are you capable of without, of course, giving out any names or anything, but do you know if there were some deals that were made thanks to our efforts?
Yes, we had some deals that were made during the fair, which is not that often. There are some follow-ups to be done. We evaluate at around 200 hot leads for the 8 companies, so for the booth. I have some figures also from this edition. When we say that we had 3 companies that were selected to be nominees, and we have 1 company that won the award, the Cial Award, in the seafood category. There were 400,000 products exhibited. So the Cial is the biggest fair in food and food innovation in the world. So we are very proud for that. We could help those companies in different ways, like Christophe said. I think the main important is that it's the biggest fair, it's the most renowned, with 7,500 visitors from exhibitors from 127 countries. It's fully booked very fast. So the advantage we have a Norwegian, a national pavilion. So Norway, they have to make a spot for Norway. But for companies who want to exhibit alone, it's fully booked very, very fast. And I have an example that you all know in Norway that exhibited every second year, because it's an event every second year. Tina couldn't get a booth this year because it was too late. It was already fully booked. And they are now selling booth space for 2026. So that guarantees a space for Norwegian companies as well. The paperwork is enormous, and Innovation Norway gave me the necessary amount of hours to do all the paperwork. So that is something that exhibitors don't have to think about and that don't have to pay for. For the logistic, we have the network. We can recommend these companies. We always had someone from Innovation Norway on site. So if you have a French-speaking visitor, French-speaking visitors are not the majority. The main majority comes from abroad, but they had someone to translate if they needed to. And the leads, they can be from anyone, everywhere in the world. So when you come to the CIAL, it's because you want to export. So the companies we accept are companies that already have a turnover abroad, because you have to be able to answer quickly to clients that can be on other continents as well. We used as well our network, like we said. And for the company who won the award, we had a meeting with them, trying to build a communication strategy, because this is precious. We knew about it before the ceremony, and we didn't want the company to spread the news before the event, because when everybody knows something, there is no added value if we use our network to communicate about it. And they were willing to wait a little bit before communicating, and Innovation Norway and Seafood from Norway helped them to communicate in a very efficient way, because we had several journalists on site. We made a small video. It was sent on our social media, Innovation Norway, Seafood from Norway, the embassy, the company, its own. So we were very happy to help them to have a larger visibility than if they had organized the communication alone.
Excuse me. We got a question from the chat.
Yes.
Obviously, this is about food exhibition. And the question is if there are other industry or sectors that we can participate.
They are.
Yes.
Paris is the biggest city in Europe for events and fairs. So we always will be able to identify the most relevant fairs for you. I had a month ago a company in the building sector who was on the fair, and they also won a gold award. We'll see that later.
Yeah, thank you.
Absolutely. So yes, we can work with any sector as long as we see some form of market for them. But yes, those are examples. We chose those examples because they are the latest ones and the freshest ones. But we can imagine any industrial sector. Any other questions? No. But then this is a good segue. Oh yes, maybe one question.
Yeah, I'm being. I'm sorry. I don't want to be disrespectful or blunt in any way. But the experience. We're a company, very small company. We do 90% export, and our experience is not very good. And you kind of said it, and it's sad that it's like that. But if you're not in Norway, if you're not involved in fish industry or military industry or oil, our experience is that we don't get help. And I think many of the participants in this webinar here, we don't do fish, oil, or military industry. So we have 80% of our sales are in Japan. And I have now been in Japan 3 times with this company I'm working for now. And we've every time tried to reach out to Innovation Norway or to the Chamber of Commerce and ask them simple question. Would it be possible for anyone, officials from the Norwegian Chamber of Commerce, just to show up? Because in the Japanese culture, just a presence from someone official from Norway would be very beneficial for a small company. But we don't even get a response. are there really any interest from Innovation Norway and the Chamber of Commerce around the world? We've had excellent help in the US. So I have to honor the guys in Innovation Norway in US because they've done great work for us. But except of that, like in France, like you guys mentioned here, we get nothing. And the examples you show us, they're all fish. But there are other industries than fish.
It wasn't fish. It wasn't fish. And I had companies in different subsectors of. We had beverage, we had dry food. Can I ask you what is your sector?
We do robotic industry. So we produce and manufacture systems to support robotic industry and automation. And basically there is no market in Norway because they're selling no robots in Norway. So our market is US and Asia. And we do very well in Japan, but not with the help of anything from Innovation Norway. It's just the examples that we show. And I've been in the defense industry in the past, and that kind of is the most frustrating part of it, because when I was in the defense industry, the Chamber of Commerce were very eager to show up and drink champagne and eat fancy food, and even use their facilities to facilitate meetings for industry leaders. And the difference in the industry I'm in now is dramatic. So, and I think in this region, a lot of us is involved in other industry. I saw some of the other ones there. They're absolutely not in defense industry. So I'm wondering, what can we do to get more assistance from Innovation Norway and Chamber of Commerce around the world to actually get some assistance?
Yep. So I understand that it's more of a global impression from Innovation Norway. Maybe also France is concerned by this remark that you just said. I think, well, and maybe this webinar is not, we're not going to solve this problem under the webinar, but what I would strongly suggest is that we have a chat in the upcoming days and try to understand maybe the past and see how we can help you further. The examples that we gave were like more or less related to one general sector, but I was going to talk here about one last way how we can help, which would maybe make sense that we explore together. And I'll say a few more about this, but this particular company is a lift roller, and it's not at all within the agri-tech or agrotech industry. So the defense and the food industry or related to that is not the only sector that we work in, and actually far from it. So it would be interesting to kind of have a talk and try to understand where that impression comes out. Yeah, I cannot give you a definite answer to this remark, but it's a very interesting one, and I encourage anyone who may have had some form of interaction before to reach out again and see, try to understand where that comes from. I think the defense is in fact one of the least sectors in which we are active in, and
we don't work in any of those sectors because fish, it's seafood from Norway. So Sjømatrådet, yeah, that are located just next to our office, that are working with that. Oil, we don't work with that because we work with sustainable solutions. And oil is far from sustainable, so we don't have any thing to do with that. And for defense, we don't have anyone in France either working for defense. So we are working with all the other sectors.
Yeah, but I can also talk a bit after your presentation about how we can deal with this in virkemiddelapparatet. Yes.
I will take just the just 4 minutes here on or less on this last slide. We've seen here one to many kind of approaches. The global growth, which is a delegation of a Norwegian company, understanding the market, the pavilions, which is again several companies kind of mutualizing their efforts and benefiting out of that huge, bigger result than what they would be capable of achieving alone. But last one of the last one that we'll mention this morning, and I think is interesting to know about, because and this is a more tailor-made and a more one-to-one service that we provide. Is the name is a service agreement, but this is not the most important. What you need to kind of remember for this kind of service is that we can become your business developer and salesperson in the country. This is the example of Liftroller. It's a relationship. I'm sorry, it's not 22. It's 2022. It's a Norwegian company that that develops the lifting platforms for construction companies, and in particular to ease arduous tasks for construction workers. So we're far from the other sectors that we mentioned here up until now. And this company had a few leads in France, and but they had a hard time following up on them. Because again, the distance doesn't help, and the language doesn't help, and the way of making business is different. So having leads is a very, very good start, but often not enough. And so they requested our assistance in helping them transforming these leads into contracts. And I think this is a beautiful story and a good testimonial of what we're capable of offering, because we have been assisting them since 2022, not 2022. And so in less than 2 years, we have managed to assist them, and they have sold for several million NOK in France, thanks to our support. And so I think the way we work under these service agreements is really that we are your eyes and feet on the ground, and it's as if we were one of your employees. And you can use us as you see fit. We determined together a number of hours, and so for Liftroller, we started for 20 hours of simple advisory back in 2022. And the more leads we were generating, the more opportunities we were creating, and the more value we were creating. And now we're up to 150 hours of provided services.
150 hours in 2024 only.
Yes. So needless to say, it's as if we were one of their employees, and they use us when they need us. And it can be just several hours a week. It can be nothing during a week because there is no particular need, and it can be up to 35 hours a week. And it really depends on what they need and when they need us and how they need us. And here you see a few of the details that. Value that we provided for them, but this is of course just an illustration. It's really as if they had one particular employee in France for them when they need it, and we're basically on call. And this is, I think, quite unique and a very, very powerful way of doing export, because we are your feet on the ground, as I said, but we're also a lot cheaper than if Liftroller had recruited an employee in France, because we're not as expensive as an employee in France. But yet again, it's a commitment, a time commitment. We started in 2022, and it's a financial commitment as well, but it provides. It can provide a lot of value, as you see here for Liftroller. And Liftroller is just one example of all the companies that we accompany. I want to leave a few minutes for discussions and questions, but basically what I want to say is that if you want to export, we can help you. You're not alone. Please feel free to reach out to Bernard and me, and we can pursue those conversations together, see what is the best approach, and how we can provide you with the most value forward. So if there is any question or remarks, please, I think we have a few more minutes for that.
Jeg kan godt ta over litt, så tar det kanskje på norsk.
Ja.
Jeg kan jo si merci pour une présentation excellente, c'est ça très bien.
Merci beaucoup.
De rien.
Yes, nei, jeg tar den videre på norsk. Det jeg vil nevne litt jo at vi jo en næringshage, og det jo flere fra flere næringshager her. Og vi jo ofte veien inn. Vi jobber tett med kundene, så det som jo viktig at vi ser litt på strategien sammen. Hvordan vi ønsker å nå ut. Jeg også kjenner til flere som har vært både innom Norsk Eksportråd, som det het tidligere, og Innovasjon Norge ute, og bare fått en rapport tilbake. Men det jo ofte ligget litt i bestillingen, at de har ikke kommet noe videre. Og det tror jeg litt viktig at vi jobber sammen for å sette den strategien, og så Innovasjon Norge en del av eksportbiten i virkemiddelapparatet. Vi har flere, og det jo noe vi skal snakke om i de kommende webinarene også. Så vi setter heller opp tror det bedre at vi setter opp et type prosjekt sammen, altså at du går til den kontaktpersonen du har i næringshagen, setter opp prosjektet sånn at vi får fulgt med hele veien fra idé til verdi, for det jo det som viktig. Det må jo være verdi til slutt, og vi må ha et resultat som vi ønsker. Og da blir utenlandskontorene en del av de som vi da kan kontakte om. Vi skal til Frankrike, skal til Brasil, hvor vi skal, men vi kommer da med en klar idé om hva det vi skal, hva formålet vårt, og hvor det vi ønsker, og hvilken verdi det vi skal sitte igjen med. Så blir det litt lettere for alle å kunne jobbe med det. Så ta heller kontakt med den personen du har i næringshagen, og så geleide videre egentlig i virkemiddelapparatet. Og så setter vi en strategi sammen. Det vel egentlig det beste rådet jeg har for å komme i gang med eksport. Og så har vi sett i dag, som Kristoff og Bernard har sagt her, om hvilke muligheter de har i Frankrike. De jobber jo på samme måte stort sett også i de andre kontorene, regner jeg med. I min tid husker jeg hadde kontakt med de i Østerrike en gang Norsk Eksportråd var der. Og de jobbet jo på samme måte der også. Ja, så det rett og slett mitt råd. Ta kontakt med den nærmeste personen her, og ja, Rune. Jeg tar gjerne og prater videre med deg her, og du kan gjerne prate videre direkte med Kristoff og Bernard her også. Så kan vi se hvordan vi kan komme videre. Yes. Ja, det noen flere spørsmål? Det var stille.
Ja, det var stille. Nei, men da kan vi, altså hvis dere kommer på noen spørsmål senere, så tar dere bare kontakt med oss. Det går veldig fint. Og så takker vi veldig for fine eksempler, og at dere kunne bistå. Det var veldig fint. Jeg synes det var veldig hyggelig. Det var det.
Takk for oss.
Da takker vi for oss, og så håper vi hører fra den andre etterpå. Ok. Ha det bra.
Tusen takk.
Ha det.
Ha det.
Ha det bra, ja.